because that part of me that comes from feeling like I'm not doing enough, that's a fear and anxiety that's coming from the fact that, I've got this business that I'm running and then I'm also doing a startup, and that fucking anxiety of, hey, you might fail. You might make a mistake that you can't recover from. It's eliciting this idea that, hey, all this that you're doing, it might not be enough. All this, but then at the same time, that fear that I'm doing too much is a different type of fear of, hey, you're doing too much and you're wasting time. All this stuff that you're doing is going to be for waste. It's going to be for naught. That's the dichotomy of it. Is it's double-sided. And that's when I have to pull back, because I'm painfully aware that it might not work out. And when you're in the beginning of doing something, I've got my company that's doing good, but my startup, it's in the early phases, and man, you're like fucking spinning tires, getting nowhere. It's like you're sitting in the driver's seat just pounding the fucking gas and you're not moving at all. And when you're doing that, man, that just sheds light on, because you have no results. You're just sitting there going fucking nowhere. And yet you want to do more, but you don't have the time to do more, unless you want to sacrifice every other part of your life. And then even if you do sacrifice every other part of your life, there's no guarantee that you're going to get anywhere from doing that. But you have to remind yourself that that is normal. As with my first business, as with baseball, as with being a good student in school, as with being the top performer at your company, whatever it is, you're not just going to suddenly get there. You're not just going to be a month into the job, a month into fucking training Muay Thai, a month into going to the gym, and all of a sudden be at the top of the world. No, you're not going to see any results for a while. You might get one or two customers. It's not really going to get your engine going very much. So you need to realize that that's normal. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't fucking hurt, that it doesn't suck. But like that Alex Hormozy quote, it's that realizing that it's hard, feeling the pain of it, but also understanding it as an indicator and a sort of filter that means nobody else is going to do it. If it were easy, everyone else would want to do it, and it wouldn't be worth anything. And, that being said, you most likely do have excess time each day. You most likely are not being completely efficient. But let me also say, sometimes you need to sit the fuck down. And I'm saying this to myself. Sometimes you need to sit down and you need to be alone with yourself. When you're constantly in action, when you're pumping weight in the gym, yeah, it might make you feel a little bit better. It does make you feel better. It makes you feel stronger, whatever, more confident. But you're not with yourself. You're not thinking about all your problems. When you're at work and you're grinding, yeah, you're doing a good job. You're improving. You're growing your business, yada, yada, yada. What are you doing for yourself, though? Sometimes it's all right to just sit down and read a fucking book, to sit down and journal, to take a minute to meditate. Your life isn't about just packing it completely full. There's a balance there. You have to see what's crazy and what's not. You have to see what's good and what's bad. Because it's bad to not do enough, but it's also bad to do too much. Because where's the line? Even if you're, working 8 to 10 hours a day, exercising, giving enough time to your friends, family, your partner, where's the time for yourself there? There needs to be a balance, and there is a balance that you can find. So realize that it's not always about just moving forward. And, maybe that maybe there is time being wasted somewhere. Maybe just use that more efficiently. Because, one of the other things that I'm having difficulty with is peeling myself away from social media. And I'm pretty sure that that's coming also from whatever fears and anxieties I have going on with work. With, I'm procrastinating. I'm trying to distract myself from the stress, from the potential pain. Because, that's really what it is at the end of the day. When you're avoiding stuff that's difficult, that's hard, you're really just trying to avoid pain. Like, okay, you're going on social media because you don't want to call whoever to get the sale, because you don't want to go to the gym. You're avoiding that suffering. You're avoiding that pain. There's some sort of discomfort there that you're trying to actively block out, but all that you're really doing is prolonging it. Because if you just went and got it done, that time is no longer, you're no longer sitting there for 45 minutes on social media with it in the back of your head. If you just go and get it done, it's done. Now there's the whole thing where, you never do it. You never go to the gym. You never make that call. And, maybe that's why you're the worst salesman at your job. Who knows? Maybe that's why you're fat. So, you need to stop avoiding the pain and discomfort. You need to stop giving in to the procrastination. This is a problem that I have. I'm pretty good with avoiding social media. I'm not on it all the time. I do some Substack posts every now and then, get distracted for a couple minutes. Twitter's kind of my vice right now. When I'm at work, I'll find myself scrolling when I don't want to fucking do something. And what really sucks about that is it's not even the way that I would want to spend my time. Yeah, it's distracting or whatever, and it provides a little bit of entertainment, but that's not the sort of stimulation that I like. I enjoy some intellectual stimulation, reading books, reading interesting things. I enjoy journaling. I really do. I enjoy certain different forms of distraction over social media, but the difference is it's such easy access. It requires no brain power. You can literally just sit there and scroll mindlessly like everyone else. That's part of why people like the news so much, because they don't have to think critically about the problems that are actually going on in the world. They just get told what to think. It's all just there to take over your mind, essentially. So it's like, with all of these problems, what do you need to do? You need to go into your mind and break them down. Because it's not enough to just say, man, I suck at avoiding social media. No, why do you avoid it? Oh, because I don't want to go to the gym. Why don't you want to go to the gym? Yeah, because it sucks and it's hard. So acknowledge that. Then just go fucking do it anyways. I don't know, you gotta break down the barrier, because you have to get down to the root cause of it. That's kind of the big thing for me, at least, is, what's the root cause of all of these problems? And, going back to this kind of heightened stress that's coming from fear about things, that fear of failure, fear of humiliation, fear of consequences, mistakes, whatever it is. That's all it is. It's fear. And oftentimes we avoid that fear. We try to distract ourselves from that fear. But once you realize that fear that you're trying to distract yourself from, that discomfort that you're trying to distract yourself from, that's all it is. You're not going to die from going to the gym. Being a little bit embarrassed because you fucked up isn't going to kill you. Your life isn't going to end if you fail. You know, they're just fears. They're just concerns. They're just discomfort. It's just a little bit of pain. And that's fine. You know, that fear, that pain, that suffering that you're going through right now, that's why no one else is getting there. But it's the reason why you'll end up there. It's the reason why you're going to be on top. It's the reason why you're going to win. Because you can make a hard decision. You can take on the stress. You can decide, how to pivot, what to do. You can do all of these things. It's completely within your power. You can absolutely take control of your life just by fucking doing the things that no one else wants to do. Make mistakes, fuck up, accept that you're gonna fuck up. Accept that you're gonna you're gonna do some things that might embarrass you a little bit. Who cares? It's not meant to be easy. You're gonna let a little bit of humiliation or whatever prevent you from growing, from doing something that you really want to do. What's less embarrassing? Failing while you're chasing after your dream, while you're trying to grow into let's say your dream is to become, I don't know, you want to be the next biggest social media company in the world. You have a great idea that you think is awesome and you're developing it. Yeah, if you fail, guess what? You're failing as someone that was going after the fucking greatness. I'd rather fail like that than fail at, because I've decided that it'd be better to work at a corporate job, which isn't going to move me up, which isn't going to improve my life. And all I'm going to do is take orders from someone else. That's a bigger failure to me. They're not chasing after their dreams. And by the way, this isn't to say that you have to fucking, start your own business or whatever. Some people don't want to start their own business. Some people don't want to live that type of lifestyle. And I completely get that. That's not you. My point is, when you have dreams, when you have goals, when you feel like you're a fat sack of shit and you don't want to be a fat sack of shit anymore, get the fuck up and go do something about it. Wait, you're a bigger failure sitting on the fucking couch all day watching Netflix than you would be if you couldn't bench press 180 pounds. At least you were in there trying to do it. What are you trying to do? Watch fucking Netflix and jerk off all day? Uh, Sometimes all it really is just understanding that it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. But this brings me to another point that I've been thinking about a lot, is really just human potential. We have so much potential within ourselves. And yet we constantly thwart ourselves. We constantly prevent ourselves from growing, from being better. Could you imagine if we actually united? Not even just as humanity as a whole, but just on a country level. If humanity, or your country, whatever, if everyone acted genuinely in their best interest, man, humanity would grow so much. If even a single group, if 10 million people managed to get together and only do what they knew was best for themselves, really fucking stick to the plan, man, the stuff that they could achieve. And I'm reading this book called The Precipice, and it's about essentially, getting through the great filter. Elon Musk has talked about this a little bit, but it's kind of about getting through the great filter and how we have this very large chance of humanity going extinct. And since the invention of the nuclear bomb, artificial intelligence, man-made pandemics, that likelihood of extinction has increased significantly. And the author's point, I am so sorry that I can't remember his name right now. The author's point is that we're kind of on the brink because our technology has far surpassed our philosophy, the way that we think, the way that we behave. We're nowhere near caught up to it. And actually, in fact, in some ways, our philosophies have degraded. They've gotten worse. I would argue that we are not as aware of what it means to be as we were years ago. And especially in the West, there's kind of this very individual centered focus where people love to be selfish. They don't really consider other humans. They kind of consider their family a little bit. That seems to be less and less each decade. Hopefully that's kind of turning around. But your focus on being a better person so that your family is better, so that your community is better, so that your state is better, so that your nation is better, that idea has kind of just fallen off the rails. It's really just, hey, I want to do what I want because I'm the only thing that matters to me. And yeah, when I have kids, I'll treat them well and raise them, but I'm what I'm kind of getting at is there's not this intellectual or philosophical conditioning that I think there should be, where there really could be this focus of only encouraging behaviors which are truly beneficial to you as an individual. I do agree that focusing on yourself is good. The problem is they focus on themselves in hedonistic ways. They want to go drink, they want to go do drugs, they want to be profane in all these different ways. What I mean by focus on yourself is focusing on the things that are good for you. And I really would argue that we know what's good for us now. I think we know that drugs are bad, specifically meth, specifically heroin, all these different types of things. Weed, I know that there's a bit of an argument for it. I don't really care. I don't see people that smoke weed and are super productive. I think that that's a myth. Same with alcohol. I think we know that these things aren't really good. It's just a distraction. It's a way to, comfort your mind, and it's really not the best way to do it. We know that things like pornography are bad. We know that rap music about killing, murdering, slinging drugs, being promiscuous, we know that these things are bad. I'm sorry. And we need to really stop pretending that they're not. Because if we all got on the same page, and I think that this was one of the benefits of religion, and, the West really has become godless over the last, I think 70 years or so. We really have become godless. But one of the benefits of religion was It really outlined what a good human was. And, it told you what not to do. It told you how to treat your neighbor. It outlined Jesus Christ as the perfect human that, really characterized all that we could be, but that we would never be. And it was just an ideal to aspire to. And we've gone away from that. We've gone into this very kind of woo-woo, everything is subjective. You can't tell me that the way that I'm living is wrong. But I can tell you that the way that you're living is wrong. Why do you feel the need to take shrooms? Why do you feel the need to drink alcohol every night? Why do you feel the need to indulge in eating ice cream all the time? Why do you feel the need to watch Netflix, binge Netflix multiple days a week? Why do you feel the need to engage in sexual intercourse with strangers that you just met? There's all these different things that they're covering up something that's going on internally, and they are being resolved or being, actually, they're distracting themselves, going back to the social media thing, that they're distracting themselves from the real issues. They're handling the problems that they have. They're finding a temporary solution that is more comfortable than just addressing the problem. Because, it's uncomfortable to address, I am getting drunk multiple times a week because I hate my job, I have no friends, I feel this disdain for myself, and I don't like the way that I feel when I'm sober. It is more uncomfortable to deal with that than it is to take the other route. But the problem with drinking away your sorrows is that you're just prolonging that suffering. You're covering it up, but it's never actually going away. It's always there in the background. And so this idea that everything is subjective and that you can live however you want, we know that that's not true. That's never been the case. And we need to find this baseline of what we think is the best way to move forward and find out how we can enforce that into our culture, into our society. Because we have so much room to grow socially, so much room to grow behaviorally, mentally, philosophically, in all these different ways. We really have sidelined all of that for technological innovation. And what's so interesting is a lot of this stuff really spawned from philosophy. It spawned from wondering how much we're capable of looking up at the stars and theorizing. Like, this internal quest was once previously one of the focal points of humanity. And we've really kind of put that aside. And I think going back to that and finding a way to overcome that and to push ourselves forward is extremely important. Because we really do have the potential to either be the generation that destroys humanity or pushes us forward. If you think about it, regardless of whether or not we are alone in the universe, we have to assume, unless aliens come here, we are alone. Because if we can't get to another planet to find this intelligent life, then we're essentially alone. And if we are alone, then we are the only organism organisms that are capable of understanding the universe. And we talk a lot about, what's our purpose? What's the purpose of life? Maybe the purpose is to set things up for the next generation. That's kind of an easy way to see it, to pass down information and knowledge, to make things easier for the next generation, to really, hand over the torch. But if we think about it from the context that, hey, we seem to have limitless potential, we've drastically, really, we've accomplished things that were previously unimaginable, that previous generations had no way of ever assuming that we could achieve. Literally just 300 or 400 years ago, they would never imagine the depth of technology that we've acquired. So just going based off that, if we continue progressing at this rate, where does that stop? And what could we look like if this rate of progress continues for, 1,000,000 years? Even just 100,000 years, which is a speck of time. I think they say that our earliest ancestors, not Homo sapiens, but the Homo genus, spawned about 1,000,000 years ago. I think Homo sapiens are 200,000 years ago. The Neanderthals, 500,000. I might be talking out of my ass a little bit. But at this rate of progress, we are capable of so much. And right now it seems that, our technology isn't enough to currently inhabit Mars. But that doesn't mean that we would even be, we're just not even there, even close to that mentally. We're not even philosophically at the level of handling the nuclear arsenals that countries have right now. We are nowhere near that. We have the power to destroy the world many times over. And we've had that now for a while, almost 100 years, but we're still not even close to being able to handle that power. We've got a lot of work to do to close that gap between that technology and our ideologies and philosophies. The way that we behave as societies, it's like when you look at the power to kill millions of people from the air, to take out the entire country, to take out the entire world in just a couple days, to literally cause humans to go extinct. That would in our anthropology, stories of stuff like that would be considered the power of gods. That would be considered, mystical powers. A higher power. And when you look around at us, at the way that we act, at our culture, we do not reflect that. And that's not to say that the world will ever be perfect, that there won't ever be drug addicts, that, all of these different things. It's not to say any of that. It's just merely to say that, hey, we're kind of fucking stupid for what we have. I don't trust us with it. I think the fact that everyone is so concerned that we could potentially destroy humanity is kind of a big concern. that hasn't been appropriately addressed. I know that they've done research on it, but we haven't addressed it socially and culturally, and how we need to grow to prevent that. It's all kind of like, oh, we need international relations to, ensure that we're not going to destroy the world. Maybe we just need to grow as peoples, as cultures, because if we don't do that, we're just kind of screwed in general. If we can't morally, ethically, philosophically rise to that level, we're just kind of fucked. And I think that even just kind of what we talk about with the self-improvement stuff, with the being better, taking on the hardship, these different ideas that we discuss, that's a step in the correct direction. That's nowhere near enough. But those changes would need to happen over a couple of generations and whatnot. We need to grow in that way. But a step in the correct direction is to grow and become the best person that you can be, to do what's best for you in a way that would be best for your family, that's best for your community, that's best for your country. Because it cannot be what you want, but what you need. And I think people need to find purpose in that, find some power in that. There's a higher calling in all of this that we definitely have the potential to realize. Personally, I think the first step is back in the direction of God. I think a godless society is void of purpose. A godless society is void of the judgment from a higher power. They talk a lot about morals and that they're subjective, that everything is subjective, everything is up to the individual to decide, that our laws are subjective, whatever it is, everything's subjective. The problem is that's in the hands of humans. And the beauty, I'm religious, I believe in God, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And, for the people that maybe can't fully make that transition, I think that Jordan Peterson makes very good claims of this. He's recently begun acknowledging his belief in God, but in the past years, the way that he's described it, I think should be very helpful to people, is that it's this higher power, it's this higher belief that matters. It's this outline of what you could be, of what humanity could be. So, for the people that can't, at the beginning believe in God, believe in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, I think looking at it from the standpoint of the Bible is a collection of stories that teach lessons that were meant to be kind of a guide to humanity, to build society, to teach them how to act, to instill morals and values that previously were subjective. And, you know, they can't be subjective. Right? Where does that end? Right? If it's also, yeah, and we say, oh, but there are some things that are undeniably bad, like murder. Oh, stealing is fine as long as it's done for a reason. Like, are you gonna say that it's really bad to steal from a big corporation when my child is sick or when their child is sick? Yeah, well, what if you're stealing from a company and there's a chain of events that causes someone to lose their job and now they can't provide for their family? That's the problem, is you can't leave it up to subjectivity, because where does it end? And I think we see this in our government and our laws as well, is this subjectivity, right? We're a free country. America, the land of the free. Everyone fights for these freedoms. Everyone wants to be completely free. But then there was a period in time where you couldn't say certain things, where you could get canceled, lose your job. Well, that's not freedom. That's not freedom at all. It's the land of the free, but you're not allowed to do drugs. It's the land of the free, but you have to wear a seatbelt when you drive. It's the land of the free, but you can't leave your child in the car while you go into the store. Like, so where's the line? What is real freedom then? Like, what is freedom then? It's the land of the free, but if someone insults my mother and calls her a whore, I can't fucking fight the guy. I can't beat the shit out of him. I'm gonna go to jail. But it's the land of the free. Right? It's the land of the free, but, someone can call your mom a whore, someone can call you a fucking retard, they can call you whatever. But there's a period in time where if you misgendered someone, you can get in trouble. Where if people found out that you were a Republican, you could get canceled. They could say all these different things, but you can't come out and say that you think abortion is murder and that it should be illegal. Because now you're taking away rights. Like, right? The right to what? No, what's a right? What's a freedom? This is why you can't leave it up to the subjectivity of man. Because every man thinks that they're better. Every man thinks that they know better. That they can decide the laws better. That their morals are correct and yours aren't. I don't think I'm better than any man. I don't think I'm better than any woman. But I do believe that the Bible sets a very good moral framework that we should follow. So I think that's a good question to think about. Why is it that we need to think that everything is subjective? We know what's right. Nope, there's no one thinks that porn is good for you. No one thinks that drugs are good for you. You can lie to yourself and you could say that weed is fine. What is weed for? What does it do for you? So that's a question that I think that maybe you could think about a little bit. Do we really not know the best way to move forward? And by the way, I understand that there are things that some of the stuff that I'm talking about isn't expressed in the Bible on the way to move forward. But I'm just talking about like this insistence that everything has to be left up to interpretation of other people as well. You know, like, are we really going to act like some cultures aren't superior? Come on. There are cultures out there that used to kill their wife when the husband died. There are cultures that stone and burn people to this day. Like, if we're looking at humanity from an outsider standpoint, and we're looking in, and we're trying to figure out the best way to move forward, probably got to be pretty strict. I'm not saying to ban alcohol, none of that stuff, but we're missing something, and we're missing something ideologically, philosophy, philosophically. There's something missing to us. And I'm not here to say that I have an answer. I fucking don't. But I just think that there's a narrow lens that we could look through. And this isn't me suggesting any moral superiority yet. Not at all. Can we really not look at things and go, social media is having a pretty bad effect on people. People now have access to see more naked people in a single hour than the richest man in history ever did. Like, we don't think that that's detrimental? I'm probably going to have to cut. So I'll leave you with that, guys. So I'll leave you with that. I had to chop off the end of this. Kind of lost my train of thought and went off on a tangent. The idea that I want people to think about is if you were to live as if humanity, the fate of humanity, rests on your shoulders, how would you behave? Would you behave in a way that made humanity worse? Or would you raise it up? Because that's the way that you act constantly. The way that you behave, the things that you do, the things that you believe in, the actions and results that you put out into the world do have an impact. Whether you can see it or not. If you are a worse person, you have made the world a little bit worse. If 2 weeks go by and you got worse, you made the world a little bit worse. If 2 weeks go by and you've gotten a little bit better, you've made the world a little bit better. Because it's the way that you interact with people. It's the things that you tell other people. The philosophies, the ideologies that you express to other people, the conversations that you have with other people, the way that you behave causes other people to behave in a similar way. You have a direct impact on the world. So act like it.